So, let's get into customizing some bases. I'm Chris. You've probably seen a lot of my, well, I don't know, maybe you've seen my videos of painting miniatures on here before, but at the request of some folks, I'm going to get into some custom base design for some miniatures. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. This is just kind of the way that I like to do it. So, the thing that I like to start with is this is stuff that I've had for a while now. But this is it's like a crafting clay kind of thing. You can find it in the clay section at a fabric store or something like that. What it is it's a really it's really interesting stuff that you can get, and it's like clay, obviously. But when it dries, it completely hardens. It hardens to a sort of soft. Almost like a soft ceramic kind of thing. And that's the kind of stuff that we're going to be using today. So what I like to do is I like to use this stuff right here. I like to ball it up into a little ball, and then I'll flatten it out. Now, the best way to flatten it out is to make sure that you've got, a flat surface, obviously not this Lego surface right here, but a flat surface, and then two things on either side. And then you just kind of like roll, a rolling, use something that works like a rolling pin to go over that. I actually constructed myself this thing a while ago. Once again, I just use Legos for everything. This is just a little thing that I've got, little kind of rails on either side that I can kind of roll something across. So what I'll do is I'll take this little piece of ceramic right here, or whatever this clay is. This stuff is kind of expensive, I do want to say. I don't remember exactly how much I paid, and I don't even remember the brand name. I think it was like $15 for... I mean, it's a lot. I mean, that's like a whole pound of it. It weighs more than a pound, but I don't know. It's a whole block of it. It was like $15, but it's pretty nice stuff. I've used it several times now. And then I'm going to, kind of lay this down flat here, and then I'm going to actually roll something over it to get it nice and flat. Tell you what, I'm going to use just a bottle of random paint here. This is just a random bottle of acrylic paint, and this is just some metallic blue that I've used. Okay, and then I'm just going to basically roll over the top of it like it's a rolling pin. Yeah, check that out. Okay, so now you've got a nice flat piece of that ceramic there. Might be a little bit, it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be good for your purposes here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a base of a miniature that I've already got here. Make sure that it's the kind that's got the sort of, rim on the base of it, but is also kind of hollow on the bottom. And then you can just take it and kind of press firmly on the top there. Just like that. Okay. And then I'll remove the whole thing. Uh-oh. Had a little bit of a malfunction here. I think the corner there just kind of got torn a little bit. And there you've got the first makings of a nice base there. What I'll do is then I'll take a plate or something like that, or, I'm just using a ceramic, kitchen plate here. And then I'll just kind of like let it sit there. Make sure to get it nice and flat again. Just kind of lightly tap it. Okay. So that's one to start with, and we're basically just going to do that a whole bunch of times. I'll go ahead and do it one more time here just to show you, but then I'll probably just do a bunch off camera, and then we'll just go from there. So once again, just take a nice little ball of this clay here. Just kind of roll it up here, get it all packed together nice. Okay, and then just kind of set it in the center there. There we go. Let's see. Do I want to use something different? Sure, why not? Let's, I don't know, we'll just use a random paintbrush here. This will be fine. This is just a really big brush that I got from a while ago. I don't even remember what from. Okay, and then we're just going to use this to roll it across the surface. There we go. Smooth it out a little bit. That looks nice. Okay, once again, same thing. Just kind of take that base, poke it into the center there, and then just take the whole thing out. There we go. Got the nice makings of a base right there. Sorry, my lighting is not great. There we go. Let's get a whole bunch of them together. Okay. I figured we're going to design just a couple of random sort of designs here, and that's what we'll get into today. Okay. And then, like I said, I'm just going to do that a whole bunch more, and then after we do that, we'll get into more specifics. So, see you in just a minute. Oh, but before I move on, the last kind of thing that I want to show you is one more method that I really, really like, actually. I've used this a few times. Again, just as a whole, I don't really like custom basing, so I don't use it for a lot of my miniatures that I really use a lot. But this is a really, really neat trick. Instead of just using a paintbrush or whatever, instead of using just a regular old rolling pin, what you can actually take is something that's rolled, some sort of little something that's already textured, and then you can roll it across the top of it. So, I bought this, chisel set here a while ago, and you can use like an X-Acto knife or something like that, but something that's got a textured kind of handle like this. This is really cool. Check this out. So you can just kind of lay something on the top here. Oh, let's even it out a little bit more. There we go. And then you can take this thing right here, and then you can do the same thing that you were doing with whatever sort of thing that you were using before, and then you can roll it across the top here. Look at that. And that gives you kind of a metallic, like a steel grate kind of thing. Isn't that cool? Check that out. Yeah, and you can use that, the same sort of way. So I'll just, take that, poke it down there in the center. Remove it. Get my plate here, and then just kind of set it down. I should probably get the base off of there. There we go. Now the stuff is really soft, so just be careful. But yeah, there you go. And oh man, my light's glaring here. There you go. That's much better. It's a little bit better. All right, so let's do that. But yeah, you can see the sort of steel grate kind of texture there. And then yeah, like I said, I'll go ahead and do a whole bunch more of these right here, and then we'll start playing around with those from there. Again, see you in a minute. All right, and then after you've got, a bunch of bases done, or whatever number of bases that you want to do, you can go ahead and move on to the next step here. Next thing that I'm going to do real quick here, just to kind of show you for the sake of showing you, is I'll go ahead and just lay out a whole bunch of this stuff onto the plate here, and then just kind of flatten it out about the same sort of thickness as these other ones here. Now, the thing to know about this is that when you do this method, when you just kind of do it, homebrewed, like this, you just kind of flatten it out on your own, you're going to risk imperfections, but that's kind of the point of what we're doing right here. So, if you do it like this, where you have this sort of rail system, where you roll, something over some rails on the side, that's how you get it to be nice and flat and nice and even. Now, if you wanted to do something like this, if you just kind of wanted to flatten it out by hand, you can do that, but then it's going to be very, very imperfect. Now, that might be what you're going for, though, because, like, let's say we want to design, some just natural ground or cave ground or something like that. Then this will work out pretty well, too. You can just kind of take this. I'm going to flatten it a little bit more. Once again, you can kind of use the ones that you've already made there as a reference for kind of how thick they need to be. There we go. I could probably fit like 4 bases onto there, probably. Something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I could probably fit like 4 of those onto there. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll go ahead and do that again as well. Okay. So I'm just going to take another piece of this stuff right here, lay it out nice and flat. One thing that you can do is if you want to avoid, having fingerprints on there, just kind of lightly run your fingers across like this, and that'll help to kind of smooth out any kind of fingerprints that you might have had on there. It can also just help to cover up all the different cracks and imperfections that might be showing up. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch to work with now. Then we're going to start getting into the actual kind of fun design stuff. So what you can do is you can go ahead and just take any sort of... You can use anything that you want, honestly. You can use anything that you could possibly imagine. You can use tools like that. You can use, brushes like this. But what you're going to do is you're going to actually texture all the different bases to whatever you want. So one that I really like... Oh, where's my... Here we go. I'll just use a kind of a chisel tool like this that's got kind of a serrated edge like that, and then I'll just kind of go all out like this. Just kind of, lightly poke and just create some texture over the whole thing. And this can kind of give you a like a sort of a granite kind of look to it. Very, very, very craggy, rough rock kind of thing. Rock that you would see on the side of a mountain or something like that. But just kind of, go crazy like this. Well, I mean, I guess don't go too crazy. You don't want to flatten your clay or your, I don't know what you call this, too much. Because you don't want to flatten it down to the plate or whatever you're doing here. But yeah, if you just kind of do this sort of thing right here, this will give you a nice texture like the side of a mountain or something like that. There you go. You got a nice, really, really interestingly textured kind of thing there. And then you can just once again kind of take your base right here, and then just kind of get some shapes out of there. What might help is if I have some sort of handle or something like this. Give me just a minute to figure something out like that. I'll jerry-rig something and be right back. There we go. I just took like a tester's paint bottle here, and then I just used sticky tack to kind of put the base on the bottom there. Let's see if this works. Yeah, that works pretty well. Okay. Can I get 2 more out of this? Maybe? Yeah, there we go. That looks good. Okay. So I've got some bases there. All right. And then the thing that I'm going to do over here, I think that, kind of in honor of Doom, I'm going to do sort of a really rough, well, not rough landscape, but I guess, so I want to channel sort of the sort of look of Hell in the new Doom game. And one thing about Hell is that it's got cracks in the landscape. It's got, magma seeping out. It's got energy and stuff like that everywhere. So what I'll actually do, I think, is I'll go ahead and just make these indentations right now. There we go. All right. And then I'll just take another one of these kind of chiseling tools right here, and then I'll just kind of start to slowly poke some sort of cracks into the tiles like this. Once again, I just kind of imagine, little lava fissures or something like that in the surface that just kind of crack and break. If I recall correctly, Hell was always kind of, it was just everywhere. It was breaking apart and all sorts of stuff was going on. So I'm kind of imagining some cracks like this. And just kind of, do these at your own leisure. Now the only thing is that, because we're going to paint these too. We're not just designing these bases. This is just the first part. You want to paint these too. And I kind of want to paint those lava cracks, so make sure that you separate the cracks like this a little bit. See, what I'm kind of doing is that I'm kind of making the cracks and then kind of pushing the sides to the side. All right, let's make a few more of those. But yeah, the thing that I like about this clay stuff right here, again, I forget what it's called. I forget the brand name. But just make sure, I mean, you'll know what I mean when you see it. If you go to the craft store, you just look in the sort of ceramics section, and it's a stuff that says it self-dries, it hardens on its own. It takes about 3 days to dry. It actually does kind of take a little while. But once it hardens into sort of a really soft, almost ceramic. And it's really good for miniatures. If you've got small kind of delicate things, and it works out really well. I don't know how well it'll work out for you know, if you wanted to use this same kind of thing for larger modeling, I really don't know. Like if you wanted to make big busts or statues, I really don't know how good it would be. But for really small, really light things like miniatures like this stuff is pretty cool actually. I'm glad that I found it a while back. Tell you what, let's get another crack in this one here. But yeah, and the thing about this is that you can just do whatever you want. I mean, you can do whatever comes natural. And I mean, it's kind of expensive for this whole thing here, but if you're using it for miniature bases like this, then that's a lot of clay. You can crank out a lot of bases like that. And so what I actively encourage you to do is, you know, if you want to get it and you want to play around with it, just experiment. You know, do fun stuff. See what feels right. Now here I'm kind of purposefully trying to do, you know, this sort of hellish landscape right here, but you can use it to make dirt. You can use it to make, you know, all sorts of different terrain kind of things. But yeah, this stuff is really cool. There we go. That crack's not perfect, but that's okay. I think it'll be fine. As soon as we actually start painting it, I think that it'll look a lot better. Let's have a crack going all the way across this one. And that stuff looks pretty neat. Okay, and now that we've gotten, you know, these sorts of things right here, these just really basic designs, we can move on to these ones that we don't really have anything going on with yet. Now, one thing that I learned a while ago that I thought was pretty cool is that you can actually take other things that have sort of shapes that you already like, and you can just kind of put them to whatever you would like. Oh, you know what? I did not plan this out very well. Let me grab something here. All right, and I just grabbed another big plate here. And I'm just going to pick up one of these really carefully. Just kind of set it on my other plate. All right, and let's just do these one by one. Okay. So like I said, you can take things that already have sort of textures that you like, and you can actually apply them to your thing here. I really like industrial, sort of modern things. So, you know, you can take little Lego bricks and stuff like that, and you can actually just kind of, you know, take it and then just sort of press onto the design here, onto the base, a design. Just press in lightly and just make sure that you press evenly across the whole thing. There you go. Now you can still see the kind of circular design there, and after this stuff dries, we're going to cut around the rest of that. But that already, see, that kind of has, you know, almost a big industrial metal grate kind of thing going. Very similar to what we were doing with that thing right there. And you can just do that all you want, really. So, you know, I'll move back here and, you know, I don't know, I'll take another little Lego brick here. And let's just do the same kind of thing, actually. Let's see here. Let's just take this. Once again, just kind of press evenly on the whole thing. And then lift up. And yeah, you've got some weird kind of things going on there. Let's pick up one of these guys again. All right. And then let's take the center of this neat little plate right here, and let's just put it right in the center of it. There we go. That's got kind of a neat design right there. All right. Get that there, lay it down nice and flat. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of cranking out, you know, again, this is just so open to interpretation. Just anything you want to do, you can do it. Like if you want to just kind of do ripples, you know, into the thing here using, you know, an X-Acto knife or whatever you want, you can do that. And if you don't like it, you can just kind of smooth over it like that and whatever you want to do. Let's see here. What do I want to do here? What do I want to do here? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Okay, let's do something else. Let's take another one of those big, thick brushes that I've got there, and let's just kind of, almost if we want to do like sand dunes, we can kind of just, we can just kind of press in here like this, and you can do kind of that sort of thing right there. Now, that's not a very obvious texture. Tell you what, actually, let me use a different brush. Be right back. All right, this is just a really, 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 really big, thick brush like this. Let's just take this and let's just kind of do that. You know what? That's not quite thick enough. Yeah, maybe we should use this brush. I'm telling you all sorts of wrong things here. Okay, just really, really, really thick bristled brushes here, and then just kind of press in here and, you know, kind of make some sand dunes or something like that. That's kind of neat, right? Yeah. There we go. That's got a neat sort of texture to it. All right, and then the very last thing that we're gonna do is that we're just going to take, you know, one more little clump of this clay stuff right here. Let's ball it up nice here. All right, and then we're just going to take off little tiny pieces, and then just kind of ball them up, and then just kind of set those to the side, and then let those dry. And then those you can use as like little rocks. You can use them as little decorative pieces that you can, you know, just kind of glue onto your bases. That just might help to give a little bit of extra something to them. But again, it's easier to do it after they dry and then to just glue them on after the fact. So just kind of, you know, take it and kind of ball up each one, and then just kind of set it to the side there, just like that. And then just do that as many times as you want. I would like to have a bunch of extras, so I'm going to do this a lot. Yeah, you don't even need to make them all the same size. You can just kind of make them different sizes and then just kind of play around with them as you start gluing them. There we go. I mean, you can just kind of do this as many times as you want. I think that'll be fine. I think that that'll be all the pieces that I really need here. And that's it for part one of this. I'm going to just consolidate all of my bases here onto the same sort of plate here, just so that I'm kind of using up not all of the plates for everything. Now, the only thing is that make sure that, you know, if you are using a plate like this, make sure that your plate is flat. It doesn't have, like, curved edges or something like that, or if they do, then make sure that you keep them off the edges, because you want the bases of these bases to be as flat as possible. But there you go. So that's going to be the first round of this. Now again, the big part of this is that these take a while to dry. These, I think the bag or package, whatever that I got these in, says that it takes 3 days, and that is about right. It is going to take about 3 days. One thing that I really want to stress is do not rush it. The very first time that I ever bought this, I got really excited and I was like, "Ooh, I gotta start playing around with these." And I only waited a day or two, and yeah, it was hard to work with. But then there were some that after they fully dried, they were a lot easier to work with. Once they harden, you can use, you know, X-Acto knives and chisels and that kind of thing to shape them more into what you want. So I'm gonna give this about 3 days to dry, and I will be back shortly. Alright, so after these things have sufficiently dried for, it's been a few days now on my end, these things are pretty solid. They, you know, they clank and they're pretty solid. Now they're still, you know, kind of fragile, so don't be going too crazy. But anyway, so we're gonna just take these, and then at this point we're just gonna actually cut out each of the little bases. Tell you what, since this was kind of the main reason that we're doing this, let's start with this one right here. So this is our this is our kind of hellish plate here, or our hellish bases here. We're going to use these as our as what will form our kind of hell world from Doom. Let me grab something to cut all these onto. I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry, I did not plan this very well. So I just grabbed a little kind of a little plate here that I can use to just kind of cut all this onto, and that way I'm not cutting into my coffee table. And I don't want to use the Lego thing that I had just because that was very uneven. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take an X-Acto knife. It helps to have a really, really sharp new X-Acto knife blade, and then you're just going to really lightly cut around the ledges of each of these guys. Now be careful when you're doing this because, you know, you want it to look good. Take your time. The sort of like ring that is formed around, I'm cutting on the outside of the ring. You see how I'm cutting, you know, right here on this line and not on the inside. I'm not cutting this line right here. I'm cutting this line. That's just because the bases, that outer line is going to be about 1 inch exactly, which was the diameter that we were going for. Whoa, careful. All right, I'm just going to sort of cut this little segment out. It's been a while since I've done this, so I'm really out of practice on it. There we go. Yeah, that thing is nice and thick, and it's got, it's nice and smooth and tough. Okay, so let's just kind of cut around the edges of it. Be careful. You don't just want to, like, you know, break it off once you've got a cut going, just because you risk kind of the bottom part of the base itself kind of getting distorted and messed up, and you kind of want to avoid that if you can. All right. So once you've got the whole thing cut out there, why don't you go ahead and just kind of smooth off the edge a little bit, kind of make it blend. All right. Once you've got that nice and smoothed off there, you know, just kind of, you know, do this to your own level of preference or level of perfection that you want to do. Like I said, I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at getting the whole thing smoothed off here. But just go ahead and do whatever feels right for you until you decide you want to move on. There we go. You can even take, you know, I've got these little kind of chisel sets here. This is actually what I use to give the textured patterns that I had here. This is what I used here. So you can just kind of do one of these numbers. And there's one decent little base right there. And then you're just going to want to kind of cut up the actual, or not cut up, but just kind of fine-tune the actual kind of designs that you did here. Like I kind of want to just smooth out these cracks a little bit. There we go. That'll be fine. Okay. Now we'll move on to the next one. I might just time skip some of these. I might just kind of show you the first couple that I do and then just do the other ones off camera. Just to, you know, just to kind of give you the basic idea. Ooh. Oh, uh-oh. Kind of unscrewing my X-Acto knife blade there. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. Then let's do the same thing over here. We're just going to smooth out these edges. All right. Yeah, sorry, I've been pretty quiet here. I've just been focused on this. Like I said, you know, before I even started this video, like I said, I'm really not that good at this. It's been a long time since I've done it, so I'm really needing to focus on it. But I think it's turning out okay. Okay, and tell you what, I'm just going to call it with these two right here, and then, those other ones, you can do on your own time. I'll do off screen or something like that. So we've got these guys right here. What I'll even do is I'll go ahead and take some of these, these little rock pebble things that I crafted the other day too, and let's just glue some of those on there too. So I'll just take a, little bit of this super glue right here. And we'll just... Oh, this super glue's kind of old. Let's put a couple of dabs here. Alright. That one there. Alright. And I think that'll do it for those. I'm going to let those dry before we do any kind of painting of them because you want to avoid getting super glue on your brushes at all costs. So let's move on to one of these guys right here. Let's go ahead and cut out these things. Okay. So I've got that one right there. That's looking pretty decent. We'll just leave that the way it is. Yeah, and if we decide we need to clean it up a little bit more, then we can do that. Let's move on to one of the more fun ones. I kind of like this one that we did here. So let's cut this one out. Uh-oh. I just broke off the tip of my X-Acto knife blade in there. Be careful when opening it up. Alright, the tip to my X-Acto knife blade is somewhere in there. Well, that's alright. We'll just kind of brush it all to the side for now. Okay, let's clean up the edge of this guy. There we go, that looks pretty neat. Okay, we got a couple of little fun things here going so far. Alright, let's cut out this guy right here. There we go. It's got a nice, nice design to it. So we've got that guy right there. All right, let's cut out one of our little granite ones that we did here. This is like the really, really rough terrain one. There we go. This one's coming along pretty well. All right, there we go. That's a decent little thing right there. All right. And then let's cut out this one right here just because this is a really, really, really basic one. And we'll see what we can do with it. All right. And I think that'll about do it. Let's play around with all of these bases right here, and you can just kind of see all the basic things that we can do with these. So let me look at these just to see if that super glue is still wet. So we're gonna let those continue to dry, but while we do that, let's focus on these guys right here. Let me clean up this whole work area. Alright, so after you've got your actual bases kind of cut out here, you can get into the point of actually painting them. So to start off with, I'm going to do a base coat of black like I do with all of my miniatures. I'm just going to use this this pure black here. Oh, you know what? I need a little plastic surface to put my paint on. Hold on. Alright, so after you've got your bases nice and cut out there, it helps to take a little bit of like sticky tack or something like that, and then just kind of put the base onto something else that you can hold on to. Because next up we're going to paint it. Doesn't really matter what type of brush you use. I'm just going to use a really big brush here to just make it go fast, but yeah, you're just going to paint the whole thing. Just do solid black. Alright, let's move on to another one here. Doesn't really matter which one. One thing you might notice about this stuff is that because it is just so dry, so coarse, it can kind of soak up your paint, so you can go through your paint a lot faster when you're painting over this stuff. But don't worry about it, that's just the nature of it. Alright. So I'm going to let those dry, I'm going to rinse off my brush. Alright, and then once those bases are nice and dry here, pretty much everything, let's go ahead and just start painting. I'm going to start with the industrial steel ones here, just because I think that they're going to be the easiest overall. So I'm going to move on to just a basic dry brush. Tell you what, let's use this big dry brush. This is just a medium Citadel dry brush. You can use a small one if you want, but I'll use a medium here. Alright, and then I'm going to take out my honed steel. Get some of that out there. And we're just going to dry brush the whole base. Just, you know, load up the paint onto the end of your brush and then just kind of wipe off most of it so that it's nice and dry like that, but still on the brush. There we go, that looks pretty good. And then just kind of go over the whole thing. But yeah, that looks pretty neat, huh? Let's move on to this one. Oops. Ah! Throwing stuff all over the place. Alright. Now with this industrial grate one, you might actually even want to use a little bit of this polished silver, just a little bit brighter. That will help to really bring out those individual lines, because those lines are pretty fine. That looks alright. Okay. Yeah, let's use the polished silver on this one too. Why not? No reason not to. There we go. It's got a nice look to it. All right. That's pretty much it for those ones. The last thing that you can kind of do is you can just kind of touch up, you know, nice little detail things if you wanted to. So let me rinse off my brush. All right, and then I'll just take out some, this is just some random, like, brand of paint that I bought at a craft store. It's just a gloss red color, and I'll just use that to do kind of some blood splatters. Let's have some fun. Why not? So this paint is really thick. That's not a big deal. All right, and I'm just going to use some random little tiny just small brush here. This isn't a Reaper brush. This is just an old brush that I had, and you can just take a little bit of the red there, and you can just kind of dab it onto, you know, the plate at different spots. You can kind of just get some blood splatter going on here. The only thing, don't use strokes whenever you're wanting to do blood splatter like this. Just do individual little dots. Oh, you know what? I skipped a step. I'm rushing. Jeez. I'm not nearly prepared for this whole thing. I would normally go over the bases with my matte varnish here just to kind of give it a little bit more of a layer of protection, because these bases can get kind of roughed up. So I would normally do that. Tell you what, let me just do that real quick to these other two that I haven't done yet. I don't want to do it to the one that I just did, because the point of the gloss red is that it's going to be nice and shiny, and if I do the varnish over that, it's going to lose the shine. So let's just take out some of my varnish, and I'll just kind of poke a little bit on the top of each base. Just a little drop, basically. And then just kind of smooth it out. Oh. Oh, man. I'm not prepared for this. What the? Oh, my gosh. I did the same thing that I did with the Revenant Mini, where I guess just got a little bit of paint on my brush there. Alright, that's okay. Just rinse it off real quickly. Tell you what, and we're just going to leave that the way that it is, because I think that'll be fine. That'll be alright. But let's smooth out the rest of this varnish. There we go. That'll be fine. Alright, I think that this one is probably mostly dry. That varnish dries pretty quickly if you apply it evenly enough, so let's just go ahead and go right back into the red that we have. You can do some kind of streaks if you want to like kind of get a splatter effect. Just kind of choose a sort of focal point and then just kind of, you know, brush away from that focal point going outward in a circle. There we go, that looks neat. Alright. And we'll just finish up this one over here also. There we go. Yeah, there you go. And that's pretty much all you need for a nice set of kind of industrial bases right there. But let's move on. If we want to look at this kind of granite one that we had earlier, this one right here, what I've noticed works really well with granite is if you take some rainy gray right here, kind of get some out, give it a nice even coat of rainy gray. There we go. That looks pretty decent. Okay. I'm going to let that dry because that is kind of thick. Alright, and after that gets nice and dry, you're just going to take it, and I'm just going to take some pure white here. The label's faded off, but this is pure white. Not going to need too much. Oh, my nozzle's not there. That's okay. Alright. I'll just use this medium dry brush again here. Just load it up. Alright. Just go over the whole thing. There we go. Easy as that. And that looks pretty neat. That's got a nice kind of granite look to it. Once again, just gonna... Oh, well, tell you what. I'm going to rinse off my brush. Alright, just take out my varnish again. Just kind of get a little dot right there on the top. That'll be fine. Then just kind of spread it around nice and even. There we go. That'll be fine. Alright. Yeah, that granite one is really, really easy. Like I said, all you just need to do is kind of texture that, and then you know, a layer of gray, and then you can just dry brush some white over it, and that looks really nice. Okay, how are these guys going? Are they? Whoop. Is that glue nice and dry yet? Not really. It's still pretty wet. You can kind of see it glistening there, and I really don't want to mess with my brush. I really don't want to mess with that with my brush. Yeah, that's still pretty wet. Alright, tell you what, I'm going to give that some more time to dry, but I will be back in a little bit for that. Alright. So what the super glue on these things finally dried. I went ahead and just painted them off screen here. So I just painted these with a layer of pure black. And then I did this guy right here. This is the kind of like sand dune one that I did. Let's get right into this though, because this is the one that I think that you guys are really here for. And that's making a Doom hellscape kind of thing. So what we're gonna do is we're going to start off with actually more of a brown color, because Hell in the new Doom game, it actually has more of a brown tan kind of color scheme going. So that's what we're going to use here. I'm going to start with this muddy brown color. Alright, and I'm just going to cover up all of the sort of rock with this. You can do the inner cracks there if you want. It doesn't really matter because I'm actually going to do something different with those. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, there we go. So we've got a nice kind of a set of brown there. Even it out a little bit, make it nice and dry. Okay, rinse off my brush. Alright. And I'm going to move on to my very favorite shade of brown here. This is my leather brown color. Just going to get out a decent amount of paint there. I'll go back to my medium dry brush here, and we're just going to dry brush that leather brown over all of the muddy brown that we just did. There we go. That doesn't look too bad, so we'll stick with that. And we'll do the same thing over here. Another thing that you can do too is that if you don't like this brown kind of color scheme, you can actually do a coat of black, and then you can dry brush gray over it, and that kind of has more of a volcanic molten kind of look to it. If you want like kind of a point of reference there, in the very first StarCraft game, look at all of the Ash World levels. You know, look at the level design of all the levels on the planet Char, and that kind of thing there. It's very, very black and gray with bright red. You can do that too. But like I said, if we're going with Doom's Hell right here, it's actually more of like a brownish color, more of a brown tan color, just like that. So I think that'll work out just fine there. Okay, and then there are one of two things that you can do from this point on. I will start with the thing that I kind of prefer, and that's that whenever I was making these kind of cracks in the surface here, I was kind of imagining those being lava cracks, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to this this fire red color, and I'm just going to take just some random brush. Doesn't need to be anything too special. And then I'm going to line the insides of the cracks with this fire red. Yeah, there we go. That looks kind of neat. But that's only one part. We're going to do something else after this too. You might be able to guess it too if you watched my videos where I painted the Revenant, the Mancubus, and the Cyber Demon. There we go. We got nice and nice red there. That looks good. That's cool. All right. Rinse off that brush. Again, doesn't really matter what type of brush that you use. Just use one that's sized appropriately to the cracks that you make. All right. And then you can do one of two different things. You can either use fire orange or lemon yellow. I think I'm going to go with the fire orange for this particular one. Not quite going quite as crazy, just kind of fill the center of those lines that you just did with this orange. It'll blend really nice too if your red paint here is still a little bit wet. Yeah, there we go. That's cool, isn't it? It's got nice volcanic kind of crags there. Looks cool. All right. So that's it for that one right here. And the other thing that you can do is instead of doing lava, you can just go, I mean, we're in hell, so let's just do some straight up blood red. But before we do that, we want the blood red to be nice and wet, so we're going to go over both of these with our matte varnish. But yeah, I would say that applying the varnish to these bases is probably a lot more important than doing the varnishes to the minis. Just because this stuff it's still solid, but it is still kind of soft. So it can be really easy to rub the paint off and reveal some of the clay kind of color underneath it. And because it's, you know, like a tan, white, beige kind of color, it's not black, it's a lot more noticeable when that happens. So I would say definitely, if you can, get some varnish and apply it to your bases here. There we go. Easy as that. All right, and if we want to just do some blood red, let's just take out some of that gloss red that we were using earlier. Get a little bit more out. Let's just use that same brush that we were using. Okay, and then I'll just kind of, you know, put some little blood drops onto the surface here. Just kind of apply nice solid little blood droplets. There we go. Okay. Let's do the same thing to this one over here. Tell you what you can do, too, is you can actually get kind of fancy, too. And you can do the sides of, like... You know how, if you recall correctly in Doom, there were sort of runes all over the place? We can kind of get, like, the, you know, the side of a rune going here. Nothing too fancy, I'll just kind of do something like this. There we go, you get like the little bit of a rune going there. Let's do the same thing with over here. Let's just get kind of the tip of a triangle or something here. And again, like with this, it doesn't really matter what you do, just kind of do a design that's nice for you. There we go. And there you go. Those are some nice kind of little custom bases that you can have there for like a sort of Doom sort of world. Tell you what, while we've got that leather brown color out here, because I totally forgot about this dude right over here. This is our little kind of sand dune one. So while I've got that leather brown color out there, let's just go ahead and go over that whole thing with a leather brown. There we go. Let's let that dry. That'll take just a minute. I tell you what, too, because, you know, why not? Let's, doop doop doop. All right. Got another one of these little rocks here. Let's just kind of poke one in the corner. Don't need a lot of glue. That's all that I need. That'll be fine. I'm going to give that a few minutes to actually dry. Alright, I think that'll be dry enough. Let's go ahead and cover that thing with the same kind of brown. I didn't do a base coat for this rock, but I think that'll be okay. I don't think it'll be fine if it's a slightly different shade from the sand. Alright, and then last up, I think I'm going to take this fair highlight color here. This is a really just light color. It's not quite white. It's got just a little bit of a sand dune kind of shade to it, so we'll just do that. Alright, and I don't want to use... the medium dry brush for that. I want to use my my small one here, so I'm just going to load this up. There we go. That'll work. That looks decent. So we'll just leave that like that. And then I'm going to go over that whole thing with my matte varnish. And then I think I'm pretty much done. I mean, I think that you guys pretty much get the gist of what all you can do here with everything that I've showed you thus far. The last thing that I'll show you is I'll actually glue some miniatures onto some of these bases so you can kind of see what the final product will look like. Okay, I think that'll be fine. So let's just let that dry really quickly. And then let's move on to, you know, some minis that I just kind of got out of storage here. These are just some ones that I've had for a little while here that I painted myself. These are, yeah, these are all Reaper Bones minis, actually. This is a Nova Corps officer, I think, but as you can see, I kind of made her look like she has the color scheme of Doom Guy from the original Doom, which was on purpose. So we've got that. Let's put her on. Oh, I don't know. Let's put her on this one. This one looks cool. I like this. So just get a little bit of super glue onto the feet. You really don't need that much. Just kind of set it there. There's one. Okay. And let's see here. Let's use oh, I don't know. Let's use this weird gun-toting lady here. She's kind of a I don't even know. She just looks like somebody who I don't know. She looks like somebody who's going to be kicking a lot of butt here. So let's let's remove that thing. All right. Let's glue her onto that guy. That looks pretty neat. Okay. Put her to the side. Let's see here. And then I got this guy. This is kind of a Mad Max looking dude here. I think that the model was literally designed to be kind of like Mad Max. So let's use that sand one that we just had. I think that'll be appropriate for him. I do like the Mad Max movies a lot. I really loved Fury Road quite a bit, and The Road Warrior is just a great movie. All right, and I think, let's see here. What do I want to use here? I think that just for my own sake, I'm going to use, oh, I don't know. Should I use the granite one? Granite one looks kind of cool. I'm not really sure. This is just some dude that I painted a long time ago. I think he's kind of a steampunky kind of thing. Tell you what, if he's steampunk, let's use one of our more industrial kind of things here. Let's use this one. Let's use this little grate here. And I think that's about all that I've got for today. Yeah, like I said, I don't really do a lot of custom bases or anything like that, so I'm not the best at it, but I think these guys are pretty decent, and I think these stands are okay. So there you go. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you'd like to see more of this, you know, fun, nerdy, miniature board game hobby stuff, if you want to see more Doom stuff, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and throw this video a like. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. I hope to see you on another edition of Let's Paint a Mini. I'll be doing that a lot more. I got some more ideas and stuff like that to do, and feel free to throw out any kind of recommendations or suggestions or requests or anything like that. I'll be happy to listen to you guys. And thank you again for like the third time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.